5:32, and I would like to call the September meeting of the Honolulu Youth Commission to adjournment. Can the secretary start with
I'm gonna read your name out. Just say present if you're here. Commissioner Carranza.
Here.
Commissioner Zaidak. Commissioner Shimizu.
Present.
Commissioner Shea.
here?
Commissioner Soon. Commissioner Soon.
Present.
Commissioner Mishina.
Here.
Commissioner Miller.
Here.
Vice Chair Azama.
Present.
Commissioner Alidoy.
Here.
Chair Campbell.
Here.
Commissioner Hall. Assistant Secretary Lim.
Here.
Commissioner Brammer.
Here. So quorum has been established with 11 commissioners present. Moving on to the next part of our agenda, is there any members from the public who would like to give testimony? Okay, seeing not, moving on to the approval of minutes for August. Did everybody get a chance to look that over? Is there any revisions or anything of concern? So seeing not, does anybody motion to accept?
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion to accept the previous minutes.
Does anybody second?
I second.
Motion passed. The August minutes are now approved for the Honolulu Youth Commission. Moving on to the next part of our agenda, that is guest speakers. I believe that we have a presentation from the City Council on the legislative process.
We're going to have Council Chair Waters come up and talk first.
Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for inviting us to speak to you all today. Brought my team here to talk to you folks about the legislative process. Of course, you folks can do whatever you want, but we just kind of wanted to explain to you folks how the City Council works. I would imagine that the Sunshine Law does apply to you folks, and perhaps that's part of our presentation on how that works. You'll find that it actually is very difficult to comply with the Sunshine Law. It's a great law, and it has its reasons, transparency mainly, but at the same time, it makes it more difficult to actually be able to communicate with one another. It's not very intuitive, right? You can't just call ASA and say, ASA, what do you think about this bill? And then call someone else, Colton, and say, hey, I talked to ASA, he likes this bill, how do you feel? You can't do that. It's the law. And you folks are a commission just like any other board or commission, that you have to comply with that. But at the same time, there's certain ways that you can do that, and it's in public settings like this where you can actually talk to each other. But thank you again for your willingness to serve, and thank you for the invitation. I hope it's helpful for you folks. And if you folks have any questions or want us to come back again, we're happy to do so. And we look forward to the legislation that you folks pass, and we'll give you some tips and hints on how to do that well. And what I look forward to is actually receiving suggested legislation from you folks that then we can introduce on your behalf, or from the administration, the mayor can introduce it through us, of course, but it would come through the mayor's office. And we're happy to accommodate you folks either way, whether it's through the mayor's office or through my office. But it looks like you guys have a good team. The last thing I wanted to talk about was the budget real quick. That your timing is perfect, because the administration is going to be making their budget recommendations in the next few months. So if you folks have recommendations, let us know. As I mentioned early on, I think some of you overlapping from the last youth commission, but we did appropriate some money for you folks. And maybe at some point, let us know how you spent it, and then let us know what you intend to spend the next budget request on. And I think it'd be appropriate for you folks, if the mayor is okay with it, come and make your presentation to the budget committee, and you know, put your best foot forward. But good luck, you guys. I hope this is fruitful and helpful, and I'll pass it over to the team. Thank you, guys. I gotta run. I have another engagement to go to, but you're in good hands. Okay. Hello, everybody.
Thank you.
We'll say we did not cover sunshine law in this.
Oops, sorry.
If that's something you want to discuss, we can do another presentation.
So hi everyone, I'm Brannigan. I work out of the Council Chair's office in the Communications Department. I'm super excited to be here and talk with all of you today. So thanks for having me.
I'm Duncan Ozora. I'm the newest policy advisor to Council Chair Waters.
And I'm Matt Millward. I'm also in the communications office, and I'm pretty new to the team too, so I learned a lot of good stuff through this presentation over the past few weeks. So super excited to be here and share what we know.
So just going to talk some, general overall information. Some of the stuff you probably already know. So a little bit about the City Council. They're the lawmaking body of the City and County of Honolulu. They determine policies and programs for the city. They set policies through bills and resolutions or measures for city services like the police, the fire department, parks, housing, waste disposal, and public transportation. They adopt yearly budgets for city operations. In fact, there's a whole budget process that takes place, and we would be happy to come back and talk about it more as we get closer to the budget session. They set annual property tax rates for budget balance, confirm city department leaders and board members nominated by the mayor, and they set fees for city services and property use. So the City Council is made up of 9 different council members from different districts. They're appointed to 4-year terms and are limited to 2 consecutive full terms, some of which you probably are familiar with these faces as they nominated you. The council members draft bills, resolutions, as I mentioned, discuss key issues, especially and care about their community. And they work really hard for the health and safety of all of us.
Can we share screen with those online?
Oh, yeah. Let's do that real quick. Where did they go? Here we go. Can they see?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So lawmaking 101. I'm gonna toss it over to Matt here.
Thanks. So first off, let's go over the difference between the council and the administration. So council is the legislative body that makes the laws, and the administration is the executive body that implements the laws. And so even though they have different roles, both branches are legally given equal weight and rank according to the city and county's charter. So there are 9 council members, a clerk office, auditor office, and office of support services that make up the legislative agencies of city council. And sorry? Okay. Oh, okay, next slide. Let's see. So jurisdiction is the official word for the authority that is given to a body to make legal decisions. And while the mayor and council work closely together, council members' jurisdiction is different than that of the mayor's. So the council has jurisdiction to establish policies and programs for the city through creating and passing policies, laws, and charter amendments, connecting with residents in their district on city issues and how those issues affect residents, holding regular meetings open to the public, where public can comment on issues and how we can collaboratively address those issues. Reviewing city budgets, which again, we'd be happy to come back and talk more about because it's kind of its own bear. Confirming appointees that the mayor requests, inquiring and suggesting procedures that are led by the mayor and executive departments, and requesting city departments to enforce rules, ordinances, and investigations. The council doesn't have the jurisdiction to for enforcement or investigatory authority.
So conducting the people's business, basically regular full council meetings and other hearings. The full council meets at least once a month, year-round, to discuss and vote on bills, adopt resolutions, and hear from community members. Special meetings may be called at any time by the council chair or a majority of the council members or the mayor. This year, regular full council meetings are called to order at 10 a.m. by the council chair, who's the presiding officer, which is Council Chair Waters. We also have committee meetings that are held at least once a month from Tuesday to Thursday on the right. That's kind of a general breakdown of the schedule that happens. These are the various 9 different committees that we have and the different voting members that comprise the different committees, the chair, and as well as the vice chair. So, except for public emergencies, notices and agendas of the meetings are made public at least 6 days before the meeting time, so in accordance with Sunshine Law. And then meetings are held in the council chamber on the 3rd floor of Honolulu Hale. All council meetings except executive sessions are open to the public, where public can give testimony. Executive sessions are held to discuss claims against the city without revealing sensitive information or when the council needs advice from council or staff. Council and committee meetings are televised live on Olelo, online, Oceanic Cable Channel 54, or even on our website. And you'll find it on our Honolulu Council .org website on the front. As soon as the agenda is available, the video pops up and you can click that link and watch it live, which Matt will give a demonstration at the end.
Okay, so quickly going over quorum and voting, it's pretty straightforward, but for full council and committees, a majority vote is needed for anything to pass. Majority, just like in case anyone isn't aware, is half of the voting members' body plus 1. So if, in our case, for a full council meeting, that would be 5 of the council members voting in support of a measure. Procedurally, full council observes Robert's Rules of Order as a parliamentary procedure. There's like a cheat sheet here kind of going over what Robert's Rules of Order are. Committee meetings don't adhere to Robert's Rules of Order, and I'm not sure if you all have a parliamentary procedure, but still good to know. And in some rare circumstances, a supermajority may be necessary to pass measures pertaining to full council matters, but not committee matters. And a quick fun fact, about 300 to 350 resolutions and 70 to 80 bills are introduced for consideration by the City Council each year. Sorry. So the difference between a bill and a resolution, bills are proposed laws and they become ordinances, whereas resolutions are more like the opinion of the council, but it can get slightly tricky in that, oh sorry, I thought the slides were still in here. So for example, with a resolution, you might see, like a more recent resolution we passed was the city's support of the efforts to support and support of Lahaina's recent tragedy and wildfire. But you'll also see resolutions that set like property tax rates for the year, whereas ordinances. Sorry, could we go backwards? I kind of whereas ordinances might have like an actual, like what we might think of more as laws, like the 15-cent tax on reusable bags that we see in like grocery stores nowadays. So resolutions and bills are both measures, and they're both voted on similarly, but maybe like a quick way to think of it is that like bills are laws that sort of affect your day-to-day, and resolutions are like the position of the council on something.
And so you folks already have some experience with like the quorum and voting requirements as well as resolutions. We're going to use just the overall process, and we'll use the city council as the primary example, but these procedures kind of apply at the state and federal level as well. The rules might vary slightly, but at the city it'll all start with a bill, if we're just talking about moving an ordinance, and that bill is going to start with an idea, and that idea can come from anyone. So you can send an idea to your council member. The administration can have an idea, but essentially they'll need to be put into this bill format and introduced by a council member. So we can move on to the next. So the part that will be the same for the most part at the federal, state, and city level are going to be this idea of needing 3 full readings with the full legislative body. So we'll have our initial reading, and once the bill or the resolution is introduced, we'll take testimony. There's typically not as much discussion on the measure at that point in time. I think it's generally seen more of a procedural step. Even if the measure has some issues with it at that point, it's a long process, and a lot of times council members or state representatives will allow it to kind of move through that stage, and we'll move on to committee review. So we talked a little bit about the committees earlier in the slides, but each committee, whether it's a House Representative Committee, a Senate Committee, or a Council Committee, they're going to have a purview, just a general topic area that they're responsible for sort of vetting the policies that are coming through there. So if we make it through a simple majority vote in that first reading of the voter committee, and this is really where a lot of the work should happen on the policy, they'll take additional testimony. These committee members and that chair will have an additional focus on whether it's health policy or transportation or public safety. And there's a little bit more attention paid at this stage. The committee chairs will typically have a lot of power in deciding what gets scheduled and what moves forward, but they'll still need a majority vote of their members or those in attendance, as long as they have quorum to move that measure through. So provided it moves through that initial committee review stage, it'll come back to the full council for a second reading. Sort of the same as the first reading, we'll take additional testimony. There might be a little more discussion at this stage than there was in that first reading. But once again, if we can get through a simple majority vote, provided it's not a charter amendment or something requiring a supermajority, we'll move back to committee. At the city level, typically you'll see that measure referring to only one committee, so it'll go back to that same committee twice for additional consideration. At this stage, they can maybe address additional concerns that were brought up in the second reading. Maybe more information has come out. And it also takes a little bit of time for the public to kind of become aware of a measure that's moving through, and so there might be more to deal with in this second committee review. If it passes the vote again, it'll come back for third reading and final passage. And this is just an example of like the quickest path a bill can take. We have examples even recently here at the City Council where a measure got all the way to third reading and there were still problems with it. And there were a lot of sort of things discussed by the different council members, and it was pretty clear that it needed to go back to committee for additional work. So we sent it back. Typically, if it can get through, once it goes through committee, it'll go through the same stages and come back to us again. If we pass that third reading for final passage, the bill will be transmitted to the mayor for his or her consideration. So once that bill is passed, the mayor will have 10 business days to either sign the bill into law, allow it through without signing it if those 10 days pass, or within those 10 days, he or she can also veto the bill, and it'll send it back to the council. The council will then have 30 days to decide if they want to override. To override a veto, you need a supermajority, so you need a 2/3 vote. At the council level, it's actually pretty easy because we only have 9 members. Typically, we would need about 5 votes to pass a bill. You only need 6 to override, so it's not a big jump from the 5 to the 6. But if you're looking at the state, it's a little bit different. Typically, you would need like 26 votes in the House to pass a bill. Now you need like 37 to override a veto. In the Senate, you go from 13 to 17. It's a lot easier to kind of prevent an override if you're coming from the administration side. One of the things with you folks being a part of this commission is you've probably come here because there are some issues that you would like to advocate for. And so we just wanted to kind of touch on, just general advocate strategies to be effective. The first thing is you really need to know the process. And so whether you're advocating as an individual or as part of an organization, somebody in your organization is going to need to know the process well. You're going to want to know who has jurisdiction. You're going to want to know how many votes do you need at different stages and when do you need those votes. So who has jurisdiction? Depending on the issue that you're wrestling with, it could touch federal law or the US code, it could be a state issue, it could be a county issue. And in some cases, you could have to actually deal with laws on multiple levels all at once or in some sort of succession. We're dealing with stuff like that right now at the City Council. We have like a tobacco bill that's really a trigger bill for us. We want to get a law in place at the city level, but we're also going to need to pass a law at the state level to sort of get the state out of the way and allow us to work on that. And so knowing who you need to talk to and when you need to talk to them is really important. Really targeting the solution is really the first step to being effective, isn't it? The next big thing is really how many votes do you need? We talked a little bit about just simple majority votes, so with the full council you need 5, but when you get into committee, each committee will have a different committee makeup. You'll have different members of that committee and you'll need a majority vote there as well. So even if you have 5 affirmative votes with the full council, if you have a committee that only has 3 or 4 members and 2 of those no votes are on that committee, you're in trouble. So knowing who you need to talk to and who you need to sort of advocate to get them on your side is important. And every legislator I've ever worked for has always said at some point or another, always count your votes. You need to know who you have on your side. And every conversation you have typically is just 1 vote. Even if you get the council chair or the committee chairs on your side, you'll need their members as well. So knowing when you need the votes are important, and whether you're working on something at the state level or the city level, we have different calendars. They're both posted on the state and city websites. The committee schedules are posted there. But knowing the purviews of those committees, whether they're state committees or city committees, is important. Knowing where a bill is likely to land and who you need to talk to in those committees to get them with you is really important. And knowing when those votes are coming up so that you have had a chance to actually talk to those folks before it happens. You want to reach out to committee chairs early and often. And if you're interested in the purviews of the committees for the council, ours are included in Council Communication 1 from 2023, and the Senate and House are included in their rules. It's Rule 16 for the Senate and Rule 12 for the House. And we'll cover this a little bit later, but both sites also include notification tools for monitoring specific pieces of legislation. We have certain tracking. So the last piece is really sort of tracking and testifying on legislation. Touched on this a little bit, but committee chairs often have like sole discretion on what gets scheduled, and so to even allow for a vote, you're going to need to get them to schedule something. So you're going to want to request hearings, know your deadlines of when they'll need to post, reach out to members early and often, and know when the testimony is due, and whenever possible, testify in person. Okay. The last thing we really want to cover was, you're in a unique position as part of this commission to utilize the authority you have as an advisory commission. You folks are already working on resolutions. I took a moment to kind of look at some of the ones. I was really a big fan of the one urging the governor to rescind his emergency proclamation. So nice work on that one. But you can also take it one step further. You can actually draft bills and attach those as exhibits to your resolutions. Because while resolutions are great and they express your position as a body, you really want to weigh in on how you want that law constructed. These are great, like this commission is a great opportunity as like whether it's this and the neighborhood boards, it's a stepping stone into this type of work. And knowing the details of how you want a law constructed is really important. Don't just take a position, have an idea of what you want that law to look like on the back end. And so this is, one added aspect you can kind of add to the work you're already doing. The last piece, and we kind of chatted about this when we were putting this together, is you're also, we're coming up in this age of like unfiltered information. And so as a body, you folks are, your voices are amplified through this commission. And with that comes some responsibility. There's no real quality control on information anymore. And so when you're seeing things floating around online, take the time to look into them. Know that once you as a body vote on something, there's some added credibility to that. And you want to make sure that it's something that you folks are going to be able to stand behind long term when these things are actually going through the rest of the process. So just keep that in mind as you do this work. And I'll turn it back to Matt to kind of walk you through the tools here.
Yeah, thanks. Oh, true, yeah. Okay, so it's really important that you guys kind of stay up to date with what we're up to in order to know that you're on whether you're on the same page or not with what we're doing, but also so you know that you're being represented by the kinds of things that you put out and send to us. And
Or
so,
if a measure is sort of triggered by something you folks have passed, if you urge us to introduce a bill on your behalf, would be a good way to sort of track that bill and make sure that you're watching it through the process.
definitely, and it's super easy to sign up for email notifications for HNL Docs, which is where all of our information regarding measures and testimony and agendas and minutes and all of that will be on this website, and I'll show you how to get there. So if you go to our website, right on the main page, you can click Find Legislation. From here, you can find everything you need. Scroll down a little bit. On the right-hand side, you'll see Subscribe to Email Notifications. But let's say we want to look up the tobacco bill that Duncan mentioned earlier. We can search tobacco and search measures. And you can find, Bill 46 and 2023, that's the year that it was introduced. And if you click on the first link, almost like the title of the bill here, you're going to get the most recent draft. But you can also scroll down and see a full history of agendas, minutes, and approved versions and proposed versions. And then also comments or testimony, which is down here. So you can find all the testimony for different measures. Anything I'm missing?
You can also submit testimony through the website.
Oh,
So
true,
that front
yeah.
page area to the right, you can click on submit testimony and walk through the steps. This website or HTML Docs is really, really great. It houses a lot of communications, departmental communications. If you want to read how council is talking to the mayor and vice versa, and the different departments and everything going on. So, yeah.
You open up the email notification list too.
Yeah.
So,
Like, subscribe to this.
yeah, and so there's some added tools here if you want to track specific things. Yeah, so that's
Yeah.
an introduction to our web page as well.
Yep. So, if you guys do you guys have any questions, anything like that? We have our contact information down below. If you feel free to reach out to us. We're here happy to help with anything that you need. So thanks so much. And here's some of our information, some of our social media information. Feel free to follow us. We also put out a monthly newsletter called Council Connect, and you can sign up for that as well online on our website. So thank you so much for having us.
Thanks.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on to our next next guest speaker, we have a presentation from City Administration on the organizational structure of city government.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. My name is Krishna Jayaram. I'm the Deputy Managing Director, City and County of Honolulu. So, Matt, Duncan, and Brannigan just shared with you folks the legislative branch and the legislative process. So I'm just going to cover very briefly the executive branch so you guys have an awareness of how the executive branch is structured. And I'm going to use, I don't have a presentation, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the Honolulu.gov, and that way you guys can always go on and look at it yourself and figure out what I'm talking about after the fact. So, so this is the executive branch, right? And the mayor is the chief executive officer for the city and county. So, executive branch, office of the mayor. So the mayor is the chief executive officer for the city and county. And what the way our organization is structured is the mayor appoints somebody known as the managing director. The managing director is similar to like a chief operating officer for a company. So the managing director runs the operations of the city. So all of the departments, except one, report to the managing director. And I don't know, does anybody know which one department does not report to the managing director? It's the city attorney. So the reason is the city attorney, conceptually, legally, we want the city attorney to be able to go directly to the mayor. They need to have that relationship. But for all of the other departments, they report to the managing director, who's my boss. So it's mayor, managing director, and then it's all the departments. And so these are all of the departments of the city. And so between us, we cover all of these various subject matters. So whether it's budget, whether it's liquor commission, parks, these are all of the subject matters that the city is responsible for. And what you'll notice is that most of the laws that are passed by the legislative branch will cover some aspect of what we do as an executive. So we have the city charter, we have the ordinances, and so they pass ordinances, and ordinances dictate how we operate. Does that make sense? So then I'll just pick a random, department. Every department, there's their responsibilities, and then every department has a director and a deputy director. Now the mayor appoints the director, but that individual gets confirmed by the city council, and they go through a confirmation process. So the mayor's cabinet is made up of all the directors and all the deputy directors, and all the directors have been confirmed by city council. And city council basically, confirmation is a process by which they affirm that this person is suited to be a director. And then the director picks a deputy director. And then organizationally, underneath the director and the deputy director is all of the work that gets done. So for example, for DIT, they take care of all of the tech in the city. So each department is set up differently, but they might have multiple divisions that handle different aspects of IT. The reason I want to share this with you is because as you guys go through your process and as you guys look at ordinances or issues, typically there'll be a department that's somehow involved, typically. And so if you want to have a department come in and share, hey, what are you guys doing to address the affordable housing issue? What about this ordinance that affects affordable housing? What are you guys' position on that? That'll be handled by the department. So we'd be happy to have the department come in and chat with you all about, this is our view on this issue, or this is what we've been doing recently, or this was in the news recently, and this is what, this is how we're handling that issue. So when you have a chance, take a look through, and you can see what the different departments are. You can see who the director is, who the deputy director is, what they cover, what issues they cover. A couple quirks that I want to share with you all also is that there's also the prosecuting attorney is also listed here. But the prosecuting attorney is special in our system because the prosecuting attorney is also elected. All these directors are appointed by the mayor, except the prosecuting attorney. He's separately elected by the public. So a little bit of special status. The other entities that have a little bit of special status, there's two of them, Board of Water Supply and Rail. Those are semi-autonomous. So those are governed by a commission or a board, just like you guys. And so you can find their website in here as well. And then finally, the Honolulu Police Commission, or Honolulu Police, Honolulu Fire, and Honolulu Liquor also have commissions. And that's all set up in the city charter. So if you want, we can go through the city charter and you can see how all of that flows. But when you have time, take a look through the city website and you can see how all the departments are set up, what each of them do. And as you guys go through deliberations, if there's something that's something that transportation does, or that's obviously something that parks does, and there's some engagement that you want to have with the department, please just let us know and we can help set that up. Okay? Any questions? Anything I can answer? All right. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Stop sharing here. Okay.
And then I believe we also have a presenter regarding the city job shadowing program.
Yes, thank you. And I apologize for the folks online because I only have handouts that I'm going to send out. I think it was last year, the Youth Commission passed a reso seeking more opportunities for youth to be engaged, either in internships or employment with the city. So the managing director, and we're working with council as well on this, what we'd like to start up with, and we'd like to do this by January, is start a shadowing program. And we want to keep it simple to start. And what it really is an opportunity for students to shadow a city council member, shadow a director, shadow myself, the managing director, for a day or two. And it's really just an opportunity to have people see how government works on sort of a very real basis. And so what we prepared for you is sort of an outline of what we view this job shadowing program being, the steps we need to make it happen. But what we really need from you all, and what we hope we can get from you all, is input in terms of what would be appealing. You know, who should we be engaging with? How should we be engaging with people? And so I'm going to pass this out, and I think, Chair, this might be an opportunity for you all to talk about, you know, I don't know how you want to have this discussion, but I'm going to pass this out, and then we can talk some more. But one of the big things that we're very much focused on is the diversity, the equity, and the inclusivity, and we want to make sure that we're able to have awareness of this program and have everyone have an opportunity to be a part of this program, and make sure that there's a good representation of students be a part of this program. And so at this point, Chair, I'll defer to you on how you want to move the conversation. I do have some thoughts that I can certainly share if it'd be helpful, but I don't want to dominate the conversation, so I'll defer to you.
Do you want to share your thoughts now?
Sure. So for us, you know, we'd like to roll this out in the new year. Because of the sunshine law that's mentioned, unfortunately, you folks can't leave this meeting and then go have a meeting and talk about this amongst yourselves. So it's a little bit complicated because of the sunshine law. So some of the thoughts are that, Chair, you know, you could seek volunteers. You could put together a group of 2, because I think with 2, it doesn't violate the sunshine law so long as there's no agreement to vote. And you could have 2 of the members sort of go through these questions and report back at the next meeting, here's what these 2 members think, and then you could have a fuller discussion at the next meeting in terms of the suggestions that you might have for us. The other alternative is you could have everyone just go back and think this through, and then at the next meeting come back and set aside enough time for a proper discussion on how you guys want to see this set up. one thought that the managing director had was that as a pilot program, just to kind of see how it goes, maybe we'd have the youth commission be the individuals who will shadow. You guys could go through that, and then you could come back and give us even more concrete idea when we formally launch this. You know, this worked, this didn't work, this is how we think we should engage, this was appealing, so maybe it should be grades, I don't know, 10 and 11, or it should be seniors. I have no idea. So it's really, that's the type of input that we're seeking from you all.
So I know in previous discussion about it that happened right before this meeting, we were also thinking about how often would something like this be, obviously the demographic, and then relating to that demographic, how are we going to identify kids that can participate in that just because they fit into that demographic? And then also going back to the point about having two members kind of talk it through very in-depth before next meeting. I think that it would be great for everybody to kind of look at these notes and kind of formulate your own opinions, but I think it would also be good to have two of us talk about it and kind of come up with answers to these questions before October. So I know for myself, I'd definitely be interested in being one of that too, just so that we don't violate sunshine law. But is anybody else wanting to do that?
Yeah, that sounds like something I'd definitely be interested in.
Okay. So I can get in contact with you about that. But right off the bat, from what you guys have seen, do you guys have any thoughts? I mean, Krishna is here, so he can answer questions that you guys might have.
I think that this is a good idea because I know myself and a lot of other people, when we're looking at opportunities for ourselves to partake in, I look towards possible internships or just possible opportunities to work up close with like the certain particular person or job that we want to work with. And it's hard because even though we want to work with, it's sometimes hard to see which opportunities are available and at what time. So I think this would give a good opportunity for a lot of students to actually partake in what they want to do, because like when I was trying to do it, I would search up possible internships, but then it was pretty hard to find, and that kind of stops the process. So I think this would help a lot.
Yeah, thank you, Commissioner. And I think part of what we're seeking from this commission is guidance and ideas on how we message and how we make sure that as many people as possible are aware of this opportunity, because that's something that it can be hard to reach. So definitely that's something that we'd want your guidance on.
I think as long as a lot of like the youth commission members are interested, having a pilot with our members is also a plausible and good idea, because the more that we know and we experience about it, it'd make it easier and better for us to publicize. And like people said before, like the outreach, like how people are aware of this opportunity, I feel like in order to increase that, it would be a good opportunity for us.
Thank you, Risha. So yeah, we absolutely welcome a pilot. That'd be a good way to sort of test run it.
I have a question. Were you folks set on making it a one-day thing, or is the duration something you're...
The duration is certainly something that we can, we if you have thoughts on it, if as a commission, we'd certainly welcome it. We made it one day just because we thought that was sort of straightforward. And it is shadowing, so the idea is that if it's a council member or a director, the individual would be at every meeting and would follow that person for a day. So if it's 2 days, 3 days, I think that makes sense. But I don't know that much more than that might be more of a challenge, particularly adjusting everyone's schedules, but certainly something we can talk about. Yeah, absolutely.
I have a question, and you don't have to have an answer.
Okay.
But I know when I was interning at the state, a big thing was taking off of school.
And so, have you guys given thoughts into, you know, students who might not be able to take off school to shadow for a day?
Absolutely. So I mean, the idea was that maybe this would be something during one of the breaks, potentially, recognizing that taking off a full day from school is a whole thing in of its own. But again, I don't know if that makes it less appealing, or if it's still appealing. I don't know. But that was the idea, to make it simple. And we were going to do this. We'll have a discussion with DOE and the schools. But the idea is we can roll this out on our own, and so long as it's a school day, we can just do it. We can make it simple. But that was the thought there. Yeah.
Commissioner Zama has input.
Yeah, mahalo nui. I know I don't have the paper yet, so look forward to seeing the email with more of the details. But just some like preliminary thoughts. One, thank you for the clarification too on the breaks. I think that's really good because our schedules tend to be freer sometimes. Acknowledging that some people don't have those same situations and circumstances that allow that. Just some other things to consider too is just like equity and to deciding like who's going to be participating in this, and the frequency, which also kind of impacts how the demographics that we're looking for, because making sure there's equal opportunity for private and public school students. So some of these districts hold more schools and more students than others, and just like broader range. So just some thoughts there. Another thing too that I would say content-wise that I find helpful is oftentimes seeing like how the council members interact too with their constituents and how they analyze those issues. How do you turn people's thoughts into actions? And people do get this metrics confused of, again, that like how it was articulated earlier, federal, state, and county. So, those are all things to navigate with. But still, they're our constituency, and we have a responsibility to help them as much as possible. But anyway, just leaving at that. Mahalo.
Commissioner Ozama, thank you for those comments. I mean, the equity piece, the diversity piece, and the inclusivity piece is very important to us. We do want to make sure that we're not only getting the students who are already successful in school. We want to make sure that this exposure to government is broadly available to everybody, including those who might struggle in school for whatever reason.
I know you mentioned the January 2024 rollout date. Is that when you want it to start, or is that when you want applications to open? What is?
So it depends. I mean, I think if the commission comes back to us and tells us you want to do a pilot, that's sort of easier for us to figure out because it's already a set group. If the commission comes back and says, we've got enough idea that we want to roll it out more broadly, then I think the January date is when we would like to start messaging and start letting the word out. And I would assume it would be some sort of spring break-ish maybe. So it all sort of depends a little bit on what we end up deciding makes the most sense in terms of when students would actually be able to and want to take a day or two or three to be part of this. But January, we want to start at this new year. We want to get going on this because we're excited about it.
I have another question of, have all departments already signed off on being willing to do this? They're all enthusiastic, they would all be participating?
That's a great question. And yeah, they would be participating. As I mentioned, they all report to the managing director. This is the managing director's concept that he'd like to roll out. I don't know, we'd have to figure this out because there's certain departments, maybe like the medical examiner's department. I just don't know. We have to think that through. But for the most part, all departments would be involved. In talking to Somerset, I believe the city council in general, all the council members would be glad to be part of this as well.
Yeah. And I think just another thing, maybe you guys have given this some thought, and maybe that's something that we can more discuss. But making sure that with all departments or everyone who is being shadowed, that the experience is the same. Finance might be severely different from first responder, and so that might be something for us to consider.
No, you're absolutely right. I mean, I think we'll want to have sort of a uniformity in how the shadower is integrated into the day. But what their experience is during the course of the day will certainly be very different depending on which department they're involved in. But I think we would work with the department directors to make sure that it is not just a day of where they happen to be in the office doing emails all day long. We will make sure that doesn't happen. So what I'd like to offer, Chair, is if it's the two commissioners who are going to sort of talk about and work on this together, I'm available, Managing Director is available. If you guys want to meet and talk more in depth about these, we certainly welcome that.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I believe that was all in our guest speakers section, unless there's anybody. So moving on to our next agenda item under the old business heading. Is there any social media updates from the secretaries?
So we recently just posted our commissioner profiles, the ones that we did on the Instagram. We also posted I think it was the commission survey form for like the public. I think that's all the social media updates on this. Yeah, that's all.
Also, okay, moving on to the next bullet point under that is regarding the commissioner initiative.
Oh wait, I'm sorry.
Yes.
It might not be entirely related to social media updates, but do you know when we're gonna be begin boosting posts?
I don't. That we can discuss that under the budget
Okay.
section. So the commissioner initiatives document, I shared that with you all, I think, a couple emails ago. So like I said, that's just something that we did last session that we found to be very beneficial. If you guys could take a chance to look at it and then fill it out. It definitely helps. Even if it's just to give yourself ideas, right? It sets aside time for you to decide what you want to make of these commissions.
And I have a question regarding the
Yes.
commissioner initiatives, specifically for resolutions, and I think we'll touch on this more, but the process of writing a resolution, I assume it needs to be approved by everybody?
Writing resolution?
Yeah, writing a resolution, the whole commission needs to approve it?
Nope. To write a resolution, anybody can do that, and you can submit it to
Mhm.
me a week before the meeting, and then we can get it on the next meeting agenda. And then we'll discuss the resolution as a whole
Mhm.
at that next meeting, and then it'll get passed, it might get amended, and it might get deferred. And then we're gonna discuss a resolution today. So that'll be a good opportunity for you new commissioners to kind of see that process. I think that was everything for old business. Moving on to the permitted interaction groups. Is there any updates from the finance? Okay, seeing not anything from education. Seeing not, defueling Red Hill. Does anybody have any updates?
Yeah, I'll chime in. The PIG didn't meet itself. Just a few updates, at least in recent news, right? There's a CRI, so community representation. I forget what the I stands for, committee, but that's going to be with the EPA and in partnership with the Navy. So that's something that we should also tune into when we have a chance. Now that I see the minutes and with the people who signed up again, I'll be sure to email for other meeting notices. The same goes for the following PIG as well. Mahalo.
I think that's something that the PIG should definitely look at, writing a resolution about. I think that could be really good. So same thing goes for youth intervention. I'm gonna assume no updates. Yeah. Okay. So that closes out the PIG portion of the meeting. Moving on to new business and resolutions. First thing is the discussion of our budget and spending. If anybody has anything to add about that? The jackets did get ordered, so that is some of our money used, but there's still a lot that we should consider using. So if anybody has anything they want to bring up?
Esther mentioned.
Oh, yeah, Esther.
The boosting.
Oh yeah. Well, we did mention that we were going to allot some of our budget for boosting posts, but I was wondering if we have a specific timeline for that, or like what we will use the boosts for, like the contents of the posts.
I don't think we talked about that yet.
Yeah.
Do you have any thoughts?
Well, we only have so much time to use up this quarter's goal that we have for boosting posts, so unless we have like anything new, I don't think there's anything we can boost at the moment.
Can we allocate it and say that we're gonna spend it for this, but not necessarily spend it in this quarter? Is that possible?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I think it has to be spent in this quarter, and then if it doesn't get spent in this quarter, it gets rolled over.
And when does this quarter end?
I believe October? October?
Yes.
October 1st?
End of October.
End of October. Okay, so we'll have one more meeting.
We'll have one more meeting.
Okay.
Commissioner Zama.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, I'll chime in really quickly. So I think the boost, just an idea, is boosting everybody's recent like bio posts of all the people who are on the commission, just so people know if we can expand our outreach to youth on the island via that way. And then also the remaining could go to boosting the next meeting of this as well, where hopefully we have some resolutions, at least more anyway. Yeah, mahalo.
We're missing a spot for District 1, correct? Is that
Yes.
a post that we could make?
There's already been someone selected, they just haven't been able to
Oh,
this
okay.
morning.
Awesome.
Okay, that's good.
In addition to what Bronson suggested, I was just looking at the minutes from last meeting. I think we're also saying advertising the survey again. That was one.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe, I think you did make a post, so either a new post or posting that. I think we can maybe add on a boost even though it's been posted.
I think that's definitely something that's feasible and easily done for the commission, and I think it'll help like expanding our outreach. That sounds like something we can do.
And then just checking into the other things we suggested were like the business cards as well as a tripod. Were those things we still want to do? I think those are the only other two ideas for this quarter.
I don't think that's necessary anymore.
What's necessary?
Like the tripod and everything
Okay.
like that.
I don't think the tripod is necessary anymore, but
Yeah.
Is it too extra? Is it so extra?
Anyway.
Yeah, so I think the only thing we had solid was do a boost on IG then. So
Okay.
then maybe just whatever funding we allocated for this quarter, working around, seeing how that, I don't know how much boost costs. So I guess depending on the budget,
Yeah.
see how much we can use to boost that.
And then I think also it might not necessarily be a bad thing to have money roll over into the last quarter, just because I think definitely in the upcoming meetings, we should start discussing doing kind of like a town hall outreach kind of thing. Yeah, I think that's something that we can also add on to the next meeting's agenda.
So what is the process to like pay for things then? So if we want to do the booths, like how do we get the money to do that?
I think we would reach out.
Yeah, so whatever you guys decide you want to spend your money on, just, you can contact myself and Kevin, either in person or email correspondence, let us know exactly what you want, how much money you want to spend, what you're spending it on, and any additional relevant details, and then if we need more information, then we'll coordinate with you on how exactly that money is going to be spent. But yeah, just reach out, tell us, let us know, and we'll work with you on it.
About how, since we're kind of short on time, about how long will that process take?
It'll probably depend on what you're purchasing, but I mean, if it's something simple like shoes, I haven't done that before, but I imagine it's not too complicated. If it's a larger order, you know, something like your jackets will probably take a little more time, then we'll probably need a little more leeway in the amount of time it'll take to make a business. Yeah, ideally, as soon as you know and we're in agreement on what you're going to purchase, just reach out to us. So
it's usually like you folks pay for it, it's not like someone pay and it's reimbursed.
yes, yeah, you guys don't be spending your own money. We'll handle the payment.
Okay, I think that's everything in regards to proposed spending. We kind of already touched on the Commissioner Initiative Survey. So moving on to discussion of Resolution 23007. Does anybody have anything to add to that?
Yeah, if I could chime in really quickly. Seeing the governor revise the proclamation over the weekend, although some of the concerns are actually still relevant, but I would ask to table this item until next meeting in order for us to give myself as the introducer more time to revise in light of recent news. So yeah, would like to make that request. Hope somebody seconds. Mahalo.
I'll second that. To move the issue on, what is your exact request?
Yeah, the motion was in regards to tabling for the next meeting's agenda. So we'd have so it'd give me time to revise and then we discuss the revised resolution next meeting.
Okay. I'll second that. So resolution 23007 has been moved to the next meeting for revisions. Okay, moving on, I kind of wanted to touch a little bit on what we saw in the presentations about attaching bills to resolutions. I think in the past, the commission has had kind of a disconnect between where our resolutions are going and the impact that they're having on city council, like if they're even being read by city council to begin with. So I think by attaching a bill onto a resolution, it'll ensure that city council actually does take a look at it and it is discussed properly in meetings. So I think that's something that we can encourage all commissioners to do when writing resolutions if it's applicable. So I myself am not very familiar in the process of writing a bill, but I'm sure that that's something that we as a commission can all learn from and kind of expand our impact in city council.
I was just gonna say too, since you have listed like resolution writing of future agenda items, we also ask someone to help with bill writing.
Yes, that is good. I'll add that.
If they can, just like do it together the same day, so we don't have to do it going forward. Yeah, I think that's really good.
I think that's everything for the new business section of the meeting. Moving on to future agenda items. I know that since we as a commission do operate in an official capacity, we do have to abide by sunshine law and also also city ethics. So that's something that we need to look at for the next meeting. Do we still have to do ethics?
Yeah, so we'll set that all up for you.
Okay, so that'll be set up for next meeting in October. Also looking at the neighborhood board structure and system. I think that attending, since we don't have the mayor's town halls going on right now, attending neighborhood boards might be a good way to get back out into the public, and then especially with commissioners who have been appointed by a specific council member, attending those neighborhood boards in that specific area might be a good way to keep contact with your council member if they do attend the meetings. Yep. And then also doing another presentation on the Roberts Rule of Order, and then, like we said, the bill and resolution writing workshop. But yeah, I think that's everything for today's meeting, unless anybody has any last minute things to point out or that they wanted to discuss.
Not for today, but just for future agenda item, also make sure we touch back on the government internship or job shadow thing?
Yes.
Yeah, isn't that a big topic? So that's like homework for all of us, thinking on that.
Yes.
And then we'll discuss that next time.
So homework for next meeting is to take a look at the printout, kind of think about the questions that we posed out, and then coming up with answers to it. And then we can discuss and then hopefully get the ball rolling on the program. If that's everything. Oh.
I'll just chime in really briefly too, because I know there's a lot of new members on the Youth Commission, and I know we're getting into sunshine, so talking at like 1% at a time. But for those who do, or if you have like any questions, since I'm like the last inaugural member, feel free to ask. I know it's rough sometimes representing our communities. Fortunately, in my case, I've been working with a lot of the communities across the island for quite some time. I'm still learning a lot too. But if you do need some extra help, happy to do so, and open up that network as well. But yeah, just wanted to say that. Mahalo.
And then you actually touched on something that I was meaning to do also. So you guys might notice that we have 2 new faces in the room. So we swore in 2 new members today, Nicole and Mackenzie. If you guys wanted to introduce yourselves briefly, kind of say a couple words.
Okay, my name is Mackenzie. I'm a junior at Kalaheo High School. Is there anything specific that you want me to?
Just whatever you want.
I'm the vice president of the student council at my school, so I don't know if there's a lot of Kailua people here, but I'm glad to represent.
I'm Nicole Baldwin, and I'm a sophomore at Honolulu School. Riley's one of my best friends, and I'm on the judo team with Charlotte. I'm really excited to work with all of you.
Excited to have you. So, I think that's everything for the meeting. I don't think there's anything else. So I would like to call this meeting to adjournment on September 19th at 6:41 p.m. I don't have my gavel today, but imaginary.
Thank you, everyone. Take care. Aloha.
Thank you.